13,000 residents of one Mexican border town now have no police to protect them. The drug violence in Mexico so chaotic it's forcing the entire police department in Asunción, Mexico to quit. The town, which sits just over 100 miles south of the U.S.-Mexico border, as you see there, has seen a series of attacks that killed the police chief and 5 cops in just the last 3 months.
Chad Sweet is following the story for us. He's a former CIA and Department of Homeland Security official and co-founder of the Chertoff Group, a global security firm. Nice to see you this morning.
Good morning. Good to be with you.
So where does this put the United States and our border security this morning?
Well, it highlights one thing, which is what we're seeing down in Mexico is like the Sopranos on steroids. This has become a situation where, unfortunately, the resignation of an entire police force is not an uncommon occurrence. The last time you had me on, we were talking about a city where the only person willing to stand forward and be the police chief after several police chiefs have been killed was a 23-year-old woman who then later sought political asylum in the United States. So what we're seeing now, unfortunately, is the deterioration of security to the point that the very foundation of law and order in Mexico is at stake. And if the United States does not act more swiftly to assist Calderon and his administration, we could very well have a failed state on our southern border.
Tell us a little bit about what would happen if we do have a failed state on our southern border.
Well, I think what we just saw here in the city of Asunción is what you could see, which is essentially you would see thugs and terrorists and essentially drug cartels taking over the institutions of government, law enforcement essentially becoming second to the commercial and criminal interests. And what I think we see right now is that as we step back and look at what happened in the case of Israel, again, if you see Lebanon there, where the thugs and terrorists were able to take over the institutions of government, Israel learned the hard way of how serious a security threat that can be.
But all of this seems so clear as day, right? These drug cartels are paying them more money. For these people, it comes down to money. So these the police forces down there, they hire individuals, and then the drug cartels come to them and say, we'll pay you double. We'll pay you 3 times as much. How can they even compete with that?
No, you're exactly right. And there's a saying in Mexico, the drug cartels will approach the law enforcement and they'll say, choose. You can either choose lead or gold, which means you can either get shot with a bullet or you can take a bribe and become part of the criminal organization. So you're exactly right. This boils down to economics and money. And as we just saw on your show before, the United States has gone through a very painful and difficult debate over our own debt and spending. I would respectfully suggest as we go into this next level of spending priorities, you look around the world, remember that right now the average U.S. consumer is facing $4 plus gallon gas. One of the single largest suppliers of oil to our country is Mexico. We import more oil from Mexico than Saudi Arabia, any other Middle Eastern country. So if we can, if we're in a point of prioritizing our resources, if you can make the case for spending resources on Libya, where they only produce 2% of the world's oil supply, we can certainly make the strategic case that we need to help our partners in Mexico defeat these criminal drug organizations.
Yeah, I mean, a country that is literally right next door to us. All right, Chad, thanks very much for joining us, waking up on a Saturday. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Chad.
Thank you.
Coming up on the show, a new plan